we have for you guys that we've been working really hard on this past week is the Auburn Top 32 Sports Moments Bracket. We've made a graphic. We're going to post this online for you to have. So be following our social media accounts and make sure you stay up to date with this. But we're going to run through the bracket, and then we're going to kind of talk about some of our matchups that we've picked and just tell y'all what we think will be some good matchups in this round and who we think might have the edge for this. So I'm going to share my screen here. Just give me 1 second. And this is the bracket that we have. We have two regions, the Auburn region and the Aria region. And we named them after the two mascots of Auburn, which Aubrey being the tiger and Aria is the eagle, the new eagle that flies at Jordan-Hare Stadium before football games. So I'm going to run real quick through the Aubrey region first, and we'll talk about that after. So we have Kick Six versus men's basketball versus Kentucky in 2016 in the top of the Aubrey region. Then we have 2010 national title for football versus Georgia Auburn in 2005. Baseball College World Series versus men's Sweet 16 run in 2002. 5 straight swim and dive national titles versus Punt Bama Punt. Bow over the top versus softball's back-to-back SEC championships. Iron Bowl 2019 versus the men's basketball regular season title in 2018. Then we have men's basketball versus Kentucky versus football against Florida in 1994. And then the last one is Bo Heisman Trophy against Equestrian's back-to-back titles in 2018 and 19. So, Delaney, what are some of the matchups that you think will be really good in the Aubrey region?
Specifically, and I don't know how close of a competition it's going to be, but I think the first matchup, the Kick Six versus men's basketball versus Kentucky in 2016, I just think that the game versus Kentucky in 2016 is most people, it was when they stormed the field, or the court, it was a huge upset. And obviously, the Kick Six is going to live on forever, especially the famous radio call. But I still think that men's basketball versus Kentucky could put up a good fight, depending on, especially if people are more of a football fan or a basketball fan.
True. I think one matchup that I look at would be Bo over the top versus softball's back-to-back SEC championships. Now, obviously, Bo over the top for you fans who lived in the 80s or fans who don't know much about this, Bo over the top was when Bo Jackson scored a touchdown late in the game against Alabama to beat them in 1982. And it broke a 10-year streak where Bear Bryant and Alabama had beaten Auburn and dominated them really throughout the course of that series. And finally, Auburn was able to put together a win and for Pat Dye and pull off what was one of the biggest upsets in that year. Now, obviously, softball back-to-back SEC champions in 2015 and 16. Those are some strong campaigns because Auburn, in one of those years in 2016, was able to go to the College World Series, and that actually will be in the Aria region. Stay tuned. And that was a big year for Auburn because they were able to put together these two incredible seasons. So I think it'll still be a really good matchup. I feel that more people will be inclined to Bo, but we'll see. I think softball still has a chance. Any other matchups that you're looking at in the Aubrey region?
I think that the Bo Jackson Heisman and the Equestrian titles is also an interesting matchup just because sometimes people do refer to Auburn as a horse school because we're undefeated. So, our equestrian team is just amazing. Once again, this year they finished really high in the rankings, and I think that that's super cool because it's not a program that every school has, but we do have it, and we're really good at it. So I think that'll be pretty close up against the Bo Jackson Heisman.
True. I think a lot of people love the equestrian team now. They start to really respect them because equestrian's not as, I guess, glamorous as some of the other sports and not as watched by a lot of people. but now it's starting to become a big thing for Auburn because we know we're good at it and we know that we have a really good coach and a really good team. So I think, yeah, it will have a really good chance against both Heisman. Now we're going to move over to the ARIA region, where there'll be some more notable games. So let's check them out. So at the top, we have the Final Four run in 2019 against the Iron Bowl in 1993. Prayer Jordan Hare from 2013 against the Iron Bowl 2017. Iron Bowl 2010 versus Cam's Heisman. Softball College World Series run in 2016 versus David Ross's home run in the Tallahassee Regional in 1997. And then football will against Florida, excuse me, in 2001, against gymnastics against Alabama in 2016. Football's 2004 season against swim and dive or women's swim and dive's 3 straight national titles. Football against Georgia in 2017 against the first ever Iron Bowl in 1989 at Auburn, that is. And then Pat Sullivan's Heisman against the 1957 national title. So, Delaney, any matchups that really stand out to you in this one?
I'm really excited to see how the Cam matchup plays out for the Iron Bowl 2010 and Cam Heisman. Because Iron Bowl 2010, Auburn came back from a 24-point deficit. So it's just two great Cam Newton moments, and everybody who's an Auburn fan is a Cam Newton fan. So I think that's going to be really close.
Yeah, I agree. I think that will be a close matchup because we said it last week. You know, it's kind of pick your favorite Cam moment. But I think for the Cam back though, I think it's kind of a culmination of like we're playing the Iron Bowl. Auburn's down, but then here comes Cam leading them back. It wasn't a pretty game. I wouldn't necessarily say it was like a Heisman moment. It was definitely a resiliency from him. But I think for Cam's Heisman, it shows how dominant he was as a player because in the other games that he played, he really flexed his muscles and showed like I'm worthy of this trophy. I think of the LSU game. I was at this game when Cam made the incredible run and even outran Patrick Peterson, who's playing in the NFL right now as well, along with Cam. And I think of that run because he was just so elusive and so strong and so fast on that run. I've never seen anything like it. So I think, the Heisman Trophy kind of shows a culmination of his power, but then the comeback, though, is a special moment in Auburn history. So I think that will be a really good matchup to watch. One other matchup that I look at is football against Georgia in 2017 against the first time ever Iron Bowl in 1989. I think when you look at that matchup, I see obviously a really big game for Auburn in 1989 where they've been fighting to bring the series to Auburn, Alabama because they've had to go to Legion Field every time to play, and Pat Dye had enough of it and finally won the battle to get it to Auburn. But then the Georgia game in 2017 where Auburn needed to win 2 games and they had to win out to go to Atlanta, and they did that by beating Georgia really bad and then got Alabama by 2 touchdowns. And I just think that run in 2017 was really cool. But also, the Georgia game specifically because Auburn just beat the brakes off of Georgia really, really well and just looked really good. And overall, it was just a solid performance from all phases. Even though Auburn would lose to Georgia in that second game in the SEC championship, I still think that was a game that people will look back on.
Exactly.
Any other matchups that you're looking at?
I think the two that we mentioned are the two major matchups I'm most excited about. Also, if we wanted to throw in there the Final Four 2019 versus Iron Bowl 93, once again, it's another high seed versus technically a low seed, but it's still an amazing Auburn sports moment. I think once again it's going to come down to football fans versus basketball fans.
True, true. I think it will be interesting to watch. But